the ground for me. And I see Dr. Jayaprakash congratulating, shaking hands with him for the wonderful presentation. And I am going to talk with not published papers, but with what Maharishi has given. And the very idea of this conference is to fill up the gaps. Our deficiency in publications will become corrected with the post-conference follow-up, I suppose. My talk will cover these two. My talk will cover these 2 points. Introduction to Vedadriyan science. The Vedadriyam starts with absolute space. The absolute space, we'll see what it is. The dimension of the hair of the cat, 10 to the power of minus 10, 14, and so on, so forth. We have come to this stage. The molecular basis of spirituality starts from here and it goes much to the unexplored area. Now, the absolute space, Maharishi calls it gravity. It is the stage in which the entire drama of the universe is enacted. The Higgs boson and the fermions are on the right. The quantum field, gravity, is on the left. What is absolute space? Absolute space is the origin. It is before the appearance of any particles. And how to see it, how to study it, it is only with your intuition. With your mental activity only will show you what it is. And the absolute space is everlasting, singular, almighty, all-penetrative, thoroughly permeable, highly transparent, imperceptible, dark fluid matter. Maharishi has introduced all sorts of adjectives to it, to the absolute space. It is characterized by quivering, kinematic, self-compressive, inexhaustible surrounding pressure force. This pressure force, the picture may remind you of the quantum physics. Gravity is identified as unified force, the source of all forces, and it is almighty. When Maharishi was there in Boulder University, US, they asked, how do you know that this space which is invisible is almighty? Maharishi simply answered, where are these stars and the galaxies? They are in the space. So which is mightier, the galaxies, the stars, or the one which is holding it? Without any restriction to it. It allows the stars, the galaxies to move freely, to spin freely, just like a top on the ground spinning. It spins so freely. So, this is absolute space. Absolute space has 4 qualities: plenum, inexhaustible, renewable, the source. Force, which is the mightiest in the whole universe. And consciousness. The consciousness is the order of function which we see in the universe. And time. These 4 components of absolute space helps Maharishi to proceed further. The absolute space is endowed with self-compressive surrounding pressure force, which is everlasting, ever-increasing, quivering and kinematic. So, this compression of the space itself crushes the space to dust particles. And this is the divine dust particle, the first evolution in the history. Absolute space is endowed with surrounding self-compressive pressure force, and this results in progressive increase in the compressive force. Beyond a critical stage, the space gives way, it crumbles to dust pieces. The surrounding self-compressive pressure force, when crosses a critical value, the space is crushed to multiple, innumerable, immeasurable fragments to form dust. And what is happening to this dust which has formed out of the space? They are compressed again. Even the dusts are not spared. It is compressed on 360 degrees globally. So what can the dust do? It starts spinning, and the spinning is the secret of evolution. Where there is no spinning, there is no evolution. Where there is spinning, evolution comes into. These fragments of space, due to global surrounding self-compressive pressure force, are made to spin and to retain this identity. If the spinning velocity is more than that of the self-compressive force of the absolute space, they survive. If this velocity falls below that of the self-compressive force outside, they dissolve, they merge from the place where they were coming from. And this surrounding global pressure gives the dust particles a globular shape. And my helper has shown how this dough which you make for puris and chapatis, how they become globular by the simple movement which you follow every day in the kitchen. What is a divine dust particle? The divine dust particle is the first and fundamental transformation of the space. Space is, we can equate to God, and this space gives the divine dust particles. So, divine dust particles are nothing but God. The divine dust particle is the first child of space, Almighty, and is the last to merge back with the space. In the dynamic space, it is closest to divinity. Retain most of the qualities of Almighty. It pervades, spreads, permeates the entire dynamic state. what we call it Shakti Kalam, the Shakti Stal, the dynamic part of the space. It is filling that totally. The divine dust particle unites the space with the matter. The divine dust particles associate themselves and build up to form Akash, air, fire, water and solid substance. So, just like our effort to bridge science and spirituality, these particles bridge divinity to the evolved universe. Now we will move to the next step, the life force particles. These divine dust particles are globular, constantly spinning and endowed with a velocity also, movement also. So, this creates accumulation of associated action of the dust particles. When these dust particles form groups, just like galaxies, we get the life force particle. The life force particle is nothing but a group of divine dust particles. They are associated with a order. Consciousness is order of function. So it creates an orderly action in the life force particle. And the life force particle evolves into Akash, air, fire, water and earth. I used to wonder why in Indian philosophy we bring about these Panchabhutas. They are the building blocks, and we will see how it is. A life force particle is nothing but association of dust particles. In a spinning system, the central portion of the spinning system is always static. It doesn't move. The periphery moves. And when you have a spinning system, you have various velocity gradients from the center to the periphery. At the center, it is a white dot, stationary dot. And then there is the slow moving, the slowest. Next, slow, the blue zone. And above that is the medium velocity dust particles. And in the periphery, they are the fastest. This picture always fascinates me because it reveals so many things. You have a central intensified zone in a spinning system. So it offers more resistance for any particle to move. And so they are slower, the slowest possible. If this central point, the dust particle moves closer to the central point, what will happen? The speed further decreases, ultimately to disappear. Is the center of a spinning system is a black hole? Similar to it, we don't know much about it. We will only explain with the terminologies what we know. So, this arrangement polarizes the dust particles to 4 zones. And we very well know that we have beta, alpha, theta, delta waves. Will you allow me to say that these particles generate those waves when they dissolve, when they become magnetism? The distribution of the LFPs. the LFPs which are moving with a high spin and speed, they are in the outer layer of this spinning system. Lesser LFPs, low density, and the high interparticular distance. On the periphery, you see more space, whereas as you come to the center, the space is disappearing, the particles are occupying this thing. Towards the central area, the spinning speed is less, the more LFPs are present, and they are highly densely packed. The interparticular distance is the lowest, almost nil when it comes to the central point. Now we see the dust particles in the LFP, life force particle, they are thrown away constantly. It is similar to the merry-go-round. If the speed increases, the child is thrown off. Similarly, when the speed of the dust particles increase, they are projected outwards. And if you compare a strong LFP and a weak LFP, in the left you have more space and less particles. The ratio of the particles to the space is much less when the LFP is weak. When it is intense, it is more. The particles occupy more area and the free space is less. And in a common man, the LFPs, life force particles, are just like a weak LFP. And in a yogi, you can note the difference between the two projections. And the first, the weak common man, the areas occupied by the blue and the violet zone is much less. And in a yogi, you see additional zone which is represented by the black. That is the absolute space which is occupying more in this thing. If this yogi is an acclaimed yogi, he achieves success in his sadhana, then what happens? The central absolute space zone increases and pushes off the beta and alpha equivalent totally. And if it still expands, succeeds, proceeds, then the absolute space almost occupies the whole area of the LFP. Between man and God, what is the difference? Maharishi used to ask. Man plus the divinity plus imprints. Divinity is with plus more particles, he becomes man. Man minus particles, with more ratio of space, he becomes more divine. And only when the space alone exists, he is not different from God. He becomes God. So we will come to the last portion in the first section, that is life force. What is this life force? Life force is nothing but the union of the life force particles that travel within the body. Because of this, the association of all LFPs constitute life force. When it is present, the body is said to be living. When it is not there, it is missing. The beauty is, in Akash, the life force particles are free to move. They are not entangled. When it comes to air, fire, water, solid, they are entangled. Though they are made up of life force particles, they cannot build up. When it is building up, they become entangled, they are not free. The life force particles move from the genetic center to the periphery, as you see in the left. And when it is moving within the body, as they move, as they orbit, the tail seems to be increasing as it comes outside. The tail is formed by the dust particles which are extruded, which comes out of it. When they come out of the group of dust particles, that is life force particle, they cannot survive the pressure of the surrounding self-compressive pressure force and they dissolve. In this way, they constantly create magnetism. The dust particles constantly create magnetism, and magnetism is the working force in the body. There is order in every manifestation of nature in the body. You have tasted all these things for such a long time, but what I want you to appreciate is the order there, uniformity there, the central axial point which is occupied by the space and the peripheral layers becoming similar to what I showed you in the life force particle. It is so even in the earth. The core is there in the periphery, occupied by the Panchabhutas. How the magnetism is formed in the body only by the dissolution of the dust particles, and according to their velocity spin, it becomes a beta wave or a alpha wave or a theta wave or a delta wave. Life force in a human being. They are all formed by the molecules are formed by the divine dust particles. You see it is suspended in this thing. When it is magnetized, when there is magnetism, it becomes something like this, from chaos to order. All these iron balls are not attached to each other, but when magnetism works through them, they are sticking to each other. In the same way, in our body, the cells are adherent to each other. In this building, the bricks are with a mortar, they are fixed, they cannot move. But in the body, their cells are united by magnetism, so we have the flexibility and mobility. What we see in hurricane can be seen in the life force particle. We have 3 bodies. In the medical college, I was taught only about the physical body. We didn't have the astral body or the causal body. Whereas here we have. Within the physical body, you have the life force particles moving and producing magnetism, that becomes the causal body. The physical body with all the 7 dhadus, sabda dhadus, juice, blood, muscle, fat, bone, marrow, and the 7th dhatu. And the life force is spinning like this, and the magnetism, when it's produced, it is in the 3rd picture, showing all the 4 zones. Here, in this picture is shown how the particles, life force particles, they spin. Closer to the center, all the dust particles are within the life force particle itself. When it is coming to the periphery, they leak out, and that is represented in the form of a tail. If you see the emergent portion of the life force particles orbit, the tail is appearing, it is becoming bigger and bigger. After reaching the middle point of this thing, the tails are withdrawn, they are sucked into the life force particle system. So, in this way, there is a constant turnover of dust particles within the life force particle, and that will explain many intricate activities of the life force. The slower ones are accumulating, they are present in a closely knit, tight area. And when they come to the periphery, this thing. And when the LFPs are moving in the fastest peripheral zone, the magnetism produced is beta. And we are living with meaning only because of the 5 senses, the skin, eye, ear, tongue and nose, the 5 senses. And where are these 5 sense organs present in the body? They are all in the periphery. None of them are in the depth of the body. And so all our experiences are acquired by the activity of the sense organs, and they are all in beta. And when this wave goes into, as shown in the previous picture, the tails are there only in the outer zone, not in the inner zone. So, when we operate on the periphery, it is the Jnana Indriyas and Karma Indriyas, the 10 Indriyas, they work. And when we focus into the medium zone, here it is, we are cut off from the sense organs, and it is only the mind zone, the Manomaya. And when it is shrinking still further, it is the Vijnanamaya. All the secrets of nature, divinity, is understood only in this zone. And when it becomes slowest, almost touching the absolute space, it is the more divine bliss zone. This we call the Panchagoshas, the 5 Goshas. Genetic center is at the center of the 3 bodies: physical body, astral body and causal body. What is there in the center of a physical body? There also it is absolute space. In the astral body, again absolute space. In the causal body, it is again absolute space. The absolute space being a common denominator of all the three bodies, unites the three bodies, allows the exchange of energies from the physical body to the astral and to the causal body. The life force is dynamic. It has a slow portion and a fast portion that explains all the activities of this thing. In the genetic center, you have another significant entity called sexual vital fluid. This is almost invisible as against the juice, blood, muscle, fat, bone. Everything is building up, becomes stronger and stronger. But after the bone marrow is light. It is jelly-like. And still what is coming out of the bone marrow is formless, energy only. And that's why it is able to perform its function in the body. In a cell, it is protecting, it is allowing the growth of the cell, and the cell also takes up food and elaborates the Sabda Tadus, and the seventh Tadu being the sexual vital fluid, it keeps on accumulating. The sexual vital fluid helps the health of the cell, growth of the cell, and when the quantity of the sexual vital fluid crosses a critical level, it starts dividing. It becomes two. So all these things are possible with the sexual vital fluid, and in Kayakalpa, we use the sexual vital fluid to a greatest extent. So I am concluding with this. The time is not cooperating with me. It runs fast. I have a lot more to say. Anyway, you people are much more brainy and learned and capable of understanding. So I leave the rest without mentioning for you to understand. Thank you very much.
Let's give a big round of applause. I can say next to Maharishi, this topic can be explained only by our Dr. Rabi Ayya. Thank you very much.